we have to keep in mind that while we have these visions, of course there may be challenges, there may be difficulties, there may be situations that you have to move through. But if you have the vision and if you have the drive, you'll walk through those things and you'll get to where you need to be. Just like when you want to be awake and clear in your meditations, you will do what it takes to do that. You will listen to what I am saying. And when I tell you to sit there and hold your awareness at the crown for 20 minutes, trying to forget about everything else, you're going to do that. You're not going to say, oh, it's too hard. I can't get my attention up below or above my third chakra. You're going to say, okay, I can't get my attention above the third chakra. So I'm going to work at eventually feeling that out until I can bring my awareness all the way up to the crown. And then you're going to hear someone say, one of the keys to equanimity, one of the keys to self-realization is non-attachment. Not being attached to the people that you interact with. You still love them, but you know they're going to come and go like everything else. Not being attached to the place that you live, because it's going to be wonderful while it's there and you enjoy it, but that's also going to go away eventually. So if you're not attached to anything, you have to figure out what is that which is eternal, which is the true source of happiness. And you're going to try to figure it out. When we talk about abiding in the self, oftentimes what people do is they get to that state where they are able to witness their personality. And they're able to hear that little voice in their head that says, oh, I am abiding as the self. And they stop there because they associate their self with that little voice in their head. And it's hard to get behind that little voice. It's hard to exist without that little voice in your head saying something like, oh, this is it. I'm meditating. I'm aware of my body. But once you start to master non-attachment, then you can start to kind of be back in yourself. And then you recognize, wait a minute, I'm not this voice either. So how do I exist while not identifying with that little voice? It's a hard thing to describe, but it's slippery. But if you're dedicated and you have a vision of it being possible for you to be awake and non-attached and clear and appropriate in this world while you go through this process, you start saying, this is slippery, this is hard, I don't know exactly what this guy is talking about when he's trying to share this, but I'm going to try to figure it out, and I can. So you want to have a sense of it is possible. And even if you don't know exactly how it's possible, then you want to have a sense of, I can know how it's possible. You see, there's a difference. Most people, whatever they want to experience, whatever clarity they want, they can admit that, but then they get hung up on, but I don't know how it's possible. And they stop there, and therefore it sort of short-circuits it. But if that comes up, then you have to have the sense, but I can know that it's possible. And in that I can know that it's possible, it's just like, if I would ask Robert to build a house for me, I know he can do it. No questions asked. I know that he can do it. So I'm not sitting there doubting Robert's skills. I'm not going to question him about it. I know he's going to do it, so we give him the money, he builds the house. It's that kind of, that knowing, right? There's something you know how to do. I know how to make wonderful wonderful spaghetti and meatballs. I know how to do that. So when the time comes up, that feeling of, I know I can make these spaghetti and meatballs so good that people are going to say, man, those are good spaghetti and meatballs. It's that kind of certainty that you want to bring up. I can know that it's possible. And once that becomes a possibility, then what happens is you start getting little glimpses and insights of how it is possible. And then you have to follow up with experimenting with what those insights bring to you, right? So you have the I can do it, and then you get the insight, oh, well, I need to try this. You try it, maybe it works. It reinforces the vision that it's possible. Maybe it doesn't work. I need to tweak it a little bit. So this whole description is really trying to get the point across that you have to be interested in the possibility. when you're interested in the possibility, no matter how long it takes, you can experience what it is you're aiming for, plus or minus 10 degrees. Plus or minus 10 degrees. You can experience that. So this week while you're here, meditate well. Spend time specifically imagining if you were completely awake, aware, enlightened, if you knew what your spiritual heroes knew. If you could live like that, what would it be like? Meditate on that, and then see what happens. And then at other times, a little less often, think about your life ahead for the next year or 6 months, and imagine, well, what do I want to experience? What would be good to have a nice little shift? Or do I just simply want to be able to appreciate what is good in my life right now? Because many of us have very good lives. I mean, believe it or not, despite all the desires that are in our mind, often if we would simply just appreciate where we are, that could be enough. And you would recognize, oh, I've got it already. And that's fine. But spend some time contemplating that, again, with the curiosity, the feeling of, okay, if that was real, if that was true, and it can be, well, what needs to happen? Or how can I appreciate it? And that will help you integrate much of what we're trying to share through this Kriya Yoga week, this Kriya Yoga teaching process, with everything when you're not here, when you're out in the world and doing your thing. So have a vision of what does it mean if you were that Kriya Yogi that really got it. Again, if you were that Kriya Yogi that if I'm talking to you and we're having a conversation and there's just a sense of, yeah, I understand that, rather than, I don't know what this guy's talking about. What would it be like if you knew it, if you could feel it, if you could live it, if you could be it? And it might be very simple. Bring that up, hold on to it, and carry it through your days. Carry it into your meditation, carry it through everything.